If you're thinking about buying a home this fall, then pay attention because Hamilton is entering a very rare buyer's window. Listings are near the highest levels that we've seen in years, and sales are also starting to climb. What this often means is that we're hitting the bottom of the market or that we're getting close to it. It means that there's more choices today, but also more competition tomorrow. Stay with me and I'll show you what signals we're seeing that indicate we might be nearing the market bottom and how you can use them to your advantage. My name is LoPresti. I'm a real estate agent in Hamilton, Ontario. In this video, I'm going to be showing you some of the most recent market stats we're seeing in Hamilton, and I'm also going to give you 3 simple moves that you can make that can help you save some serious money this fall. Now, really quick, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. This is your one-stop shop for anything real estate related when it comes to buying a home in Hamilton. And if you have any questions at all, you can also feel free to reach out to me. There's a link in the description. You can book a call in my calendar, or you can just send me an email. It's all down in the description. Now, there are 3 main metrics that are most important when you're looking at a real estate market update. The first one is going to be the supply, which is just the amount of listings that are currently available on the market today. In recent months, we've been seeing the amount of listings on the market go up and up and up, while the amount of homes that have actually been selling have been stagnating. It's usually been about double the amount of listings on the market compared to the amount of listings that have sold, and that spread has been going up each month. What that has done is lead to a large supply with very little demand for housing, which has dropped prices quite a bit. They've been creeping down quite a lot over the last year. Now, here's the thing. The amount of new listings hitting the market has started to stagnate. While it has been going up, that amount has started to flatline. It's now relatively the same as it was the previous month. But the total number of sales has gone up. It's about 2.3% higher for this time of year compared to the same time last year. So that indicates that we could be hitting the bottom of the market because that spread is not getting wider anymore. It's actually starting to shrink a little bit. And if this trend continues throughout the rest of the year, we could see prices start rising again. Now, the second thing you want to look at is price. Now, the average price in Hamilton did drop a little bit for this time of year compared to the same time last year. It's about 2% lower. The average across all property types is about 767,000. Now, the third metric is the days on market, which is just how long a home sits on the market and how long it takes to sell. So we're currently hovering around 37 days, which is about 30% higher than is typical for this time of year compared to recent trends. So while there's still very low supply on the market, we're starting to see those sales rise again. Combine that with relatively low prices and homes that are sitting for quite a bit. This is a perfect concoction for you as a buyer to win. Next, I'm going to show you how to use these metrics to your advantage when you're looking at buying a home. The first thing that you want to do is to target sellers that are fatigued, not ones that have just hit the market, but ones that have been sitting for a while. The fact of the matter is that most homes in Hamilton right now are at least $50,000 overpriced. And a lot of those sellers are really optimistic when they first start out. They price their homes high, trying to test the market and see where they're at. Those ones are going to be the least likely to want to negotiate. So what you want to do instead is to target the ones that have been sitting for at least 30 days because those ones have been fatigued by the market and they're probably going to be a little bit more realistic when you come in with your offer that is based on actual market data. If you ignore this and you continue to tour those fresh overpriced listings, you're competing with other buyers for sellers that are overpriced and unwilling to negotiate and are still very optimistic. Doesn't mean that you can't tour the new listings as well just to see what's out there on the market, but just keep this in mind. The ones that have been sitting for longer are probably going to be more likely to negotiate with you. So the second tip is to base your offer price on what is sold, not what is listed. So when you're looking at a home, what you want to do is pull 3 to 5 comparable sales that have sold in the last couple months that are similar to your home that you're trying to offer on. You want to look at location, conditions, general features, square footage, bedrooms, that sort of stuff. Find the ones that are most similar to the one that you're offering on. Be objective with this. Don't cherry pick the ones that are the cheapest so that you can try to get away with offering a low price. Be objective with this. Find the homes that are most comparable, base your offer on that. This puts you in the best position to ensure that you aren't overpaying. And if you do find yourself ending up in a bidding war, they're not too common these days, but they do sometimes still happen. You can use these numbers to remain objective. You don't want to go too high over. If you've looked at your comparable sales and you know that the home is only worth $650, it doesn't make sense to start bidding $680, $690, $700, $720. That's how people got into the situations where they bought too high and now they were forced to sell when the market went down. They're underwater on their mortgages. It's just not a good scenario. So you want to make sure that you're basing your offer on those clear comparable sales and use that to keep yourself objective. Now, the third thing that you want to do is to make sure that you budget out your monthly expenses, that you're going to have your taxes, maintenance, insurance, and your utilities. You want to make sure that you are aware of what all of those are going to be costing you for the particular house that you buy, and add in a little bit of a buffer as well, just in case. If you skip this step and you buy right at your pre-approval ceiling, you run the risk of becoming house poor, whereas most of your money is going to paying for that house, and that's not a situation that you want to be in. A lot of people who do that, they end up being forced to sell later on, and they sometimes have to sell in a weak market, meaning they lose a lot of money, not just on closing costs, but the house might not have appreciated. It might have even gone down a little bit since they bought, so you don't want to do that. Now, when you're looking for homes, what you can do is you can put a filter for homes that have been sitting for 30 days. You can actually put that in the filter option depending on where you're looking at, or you can have your real estate agent do that for you. And then you can also look at homes specifically that are vacant. So those are ones that maybe have no furniture in them, or they've been virtually staged. You can kind of tell based on the photos if it's been virtually staged. So just keep that in mind. The furniture will look a little odd. It won't look quite right. You just have to look a little closely at it to see it, but you can look for stuff like that. That indicates that the home is vacant and that the seller has most likely moved on somewhere else and they need to sell their home, or they're holding two different homes and they have two different mortgages at once. So those ones will tend to be a little bit more open to negotiation because they're a lot more motivated. Now, if this is the first home that you're going to be buying, I understand that that can be a little bit overwhelming. So what I've done is I put together a free guide specifically for first-time buyers that just walks you through the entire process. So if you're interested in that, you can just check it out. It's down in the description. Now, when it comes to a market update and trying to time whether this is a good time to be buying in the market or not, or if it's a good time to be selling or not, it really depends more on your personal circumstances, less about the actual market conditions. Now, obviously, if you're ready to buy and you've been thinking about it, this is a great time to buy, in my opinion. But if you're not ready to buy, then it doesn't really matter what's happening. Don't let the fear, don't let the FOMO make you think that you're going to be missing out, and don't rush into a home buying purchase just because you have that fear of missing out, because just because the conditions are good for buyers right now doesn't mean that they're good for you. Now, here's a couple criteria to use if you are thinking about buying but you're not really sure if it's a good time for you or not. The first one that I always recommend is if you're planning to be living in the house for at least 3 to 5 years. That's a really solid benchmark. If it's any sooner than that, you're probably better off just renting or staying, doing what you're doing right now. The reason for that is that there's a lot of closing costs involved in selling a home as well as buying a home, and if you do those two close together and you don't allow the market time to appreciate, then you can end up losing more money than if you had just rented for that 1 or 2 year period. Another thing to consider is how financially stable are you, because buying a home is obviously a very big financial commitment, and you want to make sure that you have a cash buffer set aside. You don't want to be dumping all of your money into that home. You want to have a little bit extra. Make sure you have enough income set aside so you can pay for other things, or if some other expenses come up that you weren't expecting, you're not going to get completely screwed by them. One of the ways you can overcome that is by doing something like a house hack, where you rent out a portion of your primary residence, and that helps you to cover the cost of living there. So I have a couple videos on that. You can buy a duplex, rent out one of the units, live in the other one, and then you have the tenant helping you cover the mortgage. There's a lot of ways you can go about that, but that's one way. If affordability is an issue for you, that's one thing you can do. So just to recap, we still have supply that is relatively high, but sales are starting to creep up, and the average price is still relatively low at $767,000 in Hamilton. Combine that with a high days on market. There's a lot of homes that are sitting on the market for a long time, not selling, and you have a great opportunity as a buyer to negotiate on some listings and find something that actually makes sense for you at a good price. And the fact that sales are slowly starting to rise could indicate that we are coming out of this and that prices will start to go up over the next couple months, especially as we enter the fall market when demand normally picks up. So if you have been thinking about buying, this is the time to be doing it. I wouldn't hold my breath for prices to drop much further because they're already starting to flatline, and we don't know how much more that they're good and drop, if they do drop anymore at all. So if you're in a good position based on the criteria I gave earlier, then I think now is a great time to at least start looking at some options for buying a home. Now, if you want a personalized game plan, then feel free to book a call with me. My info is down in the description. You can ask me any questions you have, and we can come up with a tailored strategy for buying your home in Hamilton. All right, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.